Yeah, before we get started, I first want to send out our thoughts and prayers to the family of Phil Weezer. Many of you probably know Phil. He's a great West Virginian, passed the other day, and great supporter of our program, of WU, athletics, and been a really good friend for a long time. In fact, allowed me to stay in this condo when I first came back in December for was originally be like 2 weeks, and I wound up staying there 4 months. So, but his wife Dana and his family, our thoughts and prayers are with him. Great man. He was a great man. So, go ahead.
Rich, start with the running backs. I mean,
Yeah.
You ever had a string like this, and what are you going to do?
Yeah, I know. Isn't it like just okay? Well, the bad luck was over with, right? We got Dior's coming around, and next thing you know, now he's out for the season. So probably going to have to play Curtis more at running back. Curtis Jones, he was just doing a little bit. He's probably going to do a little bit more. Obviously, Sincere Bowers is going to get a crack to do some stuff. But it's been the quarterback and the running back situation is funny because I know a lot of teams are like, boy, we've battled some injuries when they lost one guy. How about losing 3 or 4 at that position? So we'll get it all the way this year and then go from there.
Clay Edge healthy enough? Or?
Yeah, Clay is going to be able to practice this week. Should be able to help as well. Tyler Jacklich, who has been hurt, he would have been playing the last couple weeks. He's got a chance. He's a bigger guy. He's got a chance to play this weekend. We'll see what happens the next couple days.
People talk about this Texas Tech D-line being really dominant. Where does it fit among the ones you've faced?
Yeah, there was a lot made of it before the season, and rightfully so. Like a lot of guys when they get a Power 4 transfer, maybe he was doing okay at Power 4. These guys were dominant at the Power 4 level, and they're dominant still at the Power 4 level. They picked the right guys, evaluated very well, and they're coached well too. It's not just great players. They're coached really well, and I've been really impressed how hard they play on all those guys. But there was a lot made of it, I think, before the season, and rightfully so. And I think those guys, not just up front on defensive line, but those guys have all proven themselves again against everybody. They've been, and our guys know. They beat us pretty good last year, and they're better this year. So, and they'll be the first ones to tell you that. So it's be a great challenge for us. But I'm also excited for the opportunity for our guys to play and see what happens.
Rich, do you relish the opportunity at all to maybe cause some chaos? You can't get a bowl game, but obviously there's
there is there is an opportunity. I don't want to say spoiler, but there's I first off say, listen, it's our last home game. It's our seniors' last game. So we should have that in mind to play really hard for them. So that's been a theme for it. But also it's a great opportunity for our program to be on display in national TV against one of the best teams in the country. And if you don't get excited for the challenge, then you're not who I thought you were. And I think our guys, in the way that they've approached it so far, has been good.
How do you approach this? Is it the end of this year or the beginning of next year?
Boy, it's the end of this year. I think to look in the future, not that we're not, because we're recruiting every day, right? An open date. Last week we had a bunch of recruits in. We'll have a bunch of recruits in for this weekend. So you're always looking to the future too. But I think it'd be a disservice to our seniors if we don't do everything we can to try to win this game. And I think every coach would do that to you. And so I know it's been probably brought up, you're going to play this guy. No, we're going to do whatever we can do to try to win the game. But that's always the case.
Rich, what have you seen from Texas Tech's linebacker Jacob Rodriguez? People are talking about him winning the Heisman Trophy conversation.
Yeah,
linebacker.
He's one of the most disruptive backers you've seen. You talk about punching the ball. I think it's a trend. You see it on football at all levels, in NFL and college. Guys that are going and they're wrapping the tackle, but they're literally throwing a punch and knocking the ball out. He's the best I've ever seen at it. And I know it's kind of a newer thing that's been happening the last couple of years, but he's caused a lot of fumbles, and you can see it when he chases somebody down. He's intentionally coming to punch the ball out, and he's really good at it. He's very athletic, and he's of all the accolades that he's getting, he's deserved of it. You know, he plays hard all the time. You can see he's kind of the leader out there. So he was a lot of fun to watch until last week when we got to play him. Then he's not as much fun to watch, but he's earned all the attention he's getting.
Rich, I know it's just 1 year, obviously, for these seniors, but what has the senior class meant to you?
Yeah, it meant an awful lot. And sometimes it's hard. Like some of these guys have only been here 6 months or less, and you know, how do they adapt to it? And every one of them, I think, it's been good. There's not been one guy like, golly, you know, I wish he didn't come here, or he's not a good senior. I'm really proud of that class because there's been some tough moments this year, of course, and not everything has worked out for those guys like maybe they wanted to or we wanted them to, but they've hung in there and battled and been good for our program. So I'm really proud of them. You know, whether they're a guy that's been here 1 year or 5 or 6 years, you know, they've worked really hard to help us get our program where we want to. And you know, we're a long way from getting there, but this senior class has, I think, at least helped us establish the culture in some way.
Rich, kind of to that end, but more even on an overall team perspective, I've heard you say before that even that 2001 team holds a special place for you, even though you've won and had more success after that. Have you been able to think at all, or is this more for after the season on what this team would mean to you? This isn't a championship team, but it's the first team of your second.
Yeah,
career.
probably. I think with the microwave type of thing that college athletics is in now, you have a tendency to move on quicker, and I think sometimes that dismisses what these guys mean to us as coaches and to the program, to the school. And you know, I think when the guy transfers in, whereas a portal guy, I don't want them to be viewed as a hired mercenary type of guy. I want them to be totally ingrained in the program and appreciate the school, the town, the state. And sometimes that's hard to do when you're only here for 5 months. And I'm not saying everybody, you know, gets into that mentality, but I think for the most part, the senior class has, even the guys that have been here just 1 year. So for that respect, I really appreciate the effort they've done because you know, we coach them all hard. You know, we demand everything. It's not like, well, he's a 1 year guy, so we'll let him get away with this stuff, or, you know, oh, he's a 1 year guy, let's not worry about him fitting in. Yeah, we try to get them all to fit in the way they're supposed to fit, and to a man, I think they've done a good job doing that.
On your show last night, you touched on the kind of the need for more controls on NIL, and also the participation agreement that's going around was from the CSC that they want the schools to sign. Do you have any further opinions on, like, if you would like that agreement to come into play or something similar to come into play?
Yeah, I would. You know, I think I think there's the majority of the schools probably would, that, you know, it's kind of fair and equal across the board, you know, like a true salary cap like the NFL has. But if I'm one of those schools that has more and can do more, I can see why they're saying, no, we got more, let us do more. You know what I mean? So I understand where they're coming from, but I think from a fairness standpoint, or whatever you want to call it, you know, having a true hard salary cap kind of deal and not being able to, you know, to have $20 million more in NIL money over somebody that's going to be in your same league is a little bit challenging for the ones that don't have it. But you can sit there and complain about it, or you can say, what do we do to overcome that? That team or teams that can simply buy more players than you because they got more NIL money. I think every coach can sit and complain about it, but I think the better avenue is to, how do we solve that problem? You know, whether it's fundraising or, you know, evaluation or what have you, to try to make sure that that gap doesn't determine wins and losses.
One more to their roster. Obviously, the dollars you'd like to have, but is there are people studying how they spent their money? I mean, it was spread around their D-line, their offensive line. Some people had money and didn't spend it as well. Are people studying how they did that?
Oh, I'm sure we are. I think everybody is. If you're going to study people that are doing well, like, you know, winning, and why are you winning? You know, there could be, you know, obviously you got the right players, you got the right staff, you got the right facility, you have, you know, there's usually a multitude of reasons that you have so much success, and you know, they've, you know, look what they've done in 1 year with it. But again, they've, they evaluated the right guys. They did a great job evaluation first off, and then I don't know what everybody on their roster is getting paid, but it seems to me that they distributed in the right way, and all their guys play really hard, so it didn't affect their culture. If these guys are getting all this money and maybe these other guys weren't, it looks like to me they still have a great culture. So there's a lot to learn from studying. I'm sure they won't tell everybody what how they went about their process, but
A lot of hits.
yeah, and you got to be fortunate too that there's always some little bit of guesswork, but if they stay healthy too, right? I mean, if those guys you bring in, like say you bring in a guy and you evaluate and you hit on his evaluation, he's going to be a great player, but then he gets banged up and he can't play. Well, then maybe you did everything right, but you just had bad luck.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So there's always going to be some luck and some fortune involved in that as well.
Rich, the things you talked about with your senior class and helping to instill the culture and get that going, you're familiar with the unique dynamics here, right? As a player, haven't been here before. How much of that is part of your evaluation going forward from just this new generation and how they fit here with all the extracurriculars that go on around?
Yeah, if you're asking about are the young men today different mentality-wise than 20 years ago? Sure, a little bit. I think because the dynamic has changed. There's guys getting paid, and everybody's not. Before, everybody was either on scholarship or you're not, and you weren't getting any extra unless you were cheating somewhere. So it's a different dynamic now. It's like a pro locker room. Quarterbacks are probably making more money than wideouts or what have you. Excuse me, but I still think in football, where this requires so many people to have success collectively in order for an individual to have success, that the team aspect is still got to be at the forefront of your approach. And that always will be with ours, and I think it is with most coaches, but football is not an individual sport, even though there can be individual stars and individuals that have great attention and get paid more money and all that kind of stuff. Now, it still requires a team to have success collectively on this level, and that will always be at the forefront of how we run our program, that the team has always become more or is more than the individual.
A lot of talk about the transfer portal, obviously, but with junior college recruiting, has that become more competitive? Is it easier to find guys? How does that work?
Well, the junior college guys are a lot of them maybe there's less of them probably getting opportunities because of the transfer portal. Some guys are just taking, guys from a lower level coming up as opposed to going the junior college route. So the junior college recruiting has become more like the high school guys. In other words, we'll sign us a handful of junior college guys on the third, where typically those guys you may not sign until the February signing period and wait till after all the JC seasons are over and all that. So it is a different dynamic, and there are some guys that are coming out of high school that maybe would have got offers before, but because there's so many transfers getting offers, that there's less of those. So some of those guys are going to junior colleges to prove themselves. So all the dynamics of recruiting has changed quite a bit in the last few years, and as a staff, we have to change with it. I can sit back, throw my hands up, and say, "God, it's a mess," and some of it is still a mess. Or I can say, "Listen, it's a mess, but how do we win with this mess? And what are the solutions? What have we learned from this year going forward?" And there's, plenty of things for us to learn from.
In the past, there would be a few players that you and other coaches might take a chance on in terms of qualifying, being eligible, graduating, all that kind of thing. Seems like that's shifted back to, hey, we want to know you're graduating, we want to know you're good. Is that your?
I think part of that is coming from the roster limit, which I still disagree with. The roster limit of 105. I mean, you're going to have a lot of guys that are quality walk-ons that will be able to go to a college and prove themselves, get a scholarship. Now may not get that opportunity as they were before because of the roster limit. And to me, I don't see why you can't have a roster limit of 120 instead of 105. And again, like the NFL, they say, well, the NFL only has 53 guys. Well, they have a practice squad, plus if somebody gets hurt, they can go sign somebody off the street and bring them in. We can't do that in college. And And what it's done to prevent a lot of the walk-ons, instead of coming here and proving themselves, they'll go to a smaller school or they'll go to junior college, and it delays their opportunity to prove themselves, I think, in some respects. But it seems like that roster limit's probably here to stay. I don't know.
So you are more looking though for guys that, hey, are going to graduate JUCOs and, January can come in, early guys are proven.
Yeah, the guys about, if you're asking about the guys, some of them won't graduate until May. Do we dismiss that? If they're a good enough player, we'll take them in May. Most of the ones that we're going to sign on the 3rd, most of them will be enrolled here in January, but there will be a handful that won't graduate until May, and we'll still take them. There'll be a handful of junior college guys that don't graduate until May, and we'll still take them. So they're still going to keep spots for them. But nowadays, most high school guys are, more than ever before, graduating early and enrolling in January.
Looking future, any players, positions get your attention from your open week and the evaluation practices you offer?
Well, yeah, really. I mean, that's not just coach speak. I mean, it's every position. I mean, we're losing a bunch of guys, and we knew that coming in. We've been more intentional this year of getting younger guys, high school guys, JC guys, in the program, but that's we're on the lookout every day for guys. So I think we're not. We'll sign a bunch of guys here next week, but we'll sign some guys in February, and then we'll get a dozen guys out of the portal. So we're just looking for guys that we think can compete to play for us right now, whether out of high school, junior college, transfer. If you're not better than what we got, or we don't project you being better than what we got, then why are we recruiting them, right? So that's kind of our thought process.
What you do have, that's what I was kind of getting at. People who are in-house that got an opportunity to maybe developmental practice during the open week, or does any of it show up?
Yeah, we did a little bit of evaluation that and last week, but we had long meetings as a staff discussing the current roster too, about this guy. We think he's going to be a great player. This guy, he hasn't shown as much yet, and so, but they've had the last 14 weeks to do something. So we've got a pretty good evaluation on all of our players, and we'll discuss our current roster in deep detail again on Monday.
Okay, thank you, Coach.
Okay, thank you.